Hello, my friends. Here's Israel Ben David, and welcome to Communication Lab YouTube channel. Today, I'm so excited to have Lana Andrianova with us in a special interview about the perspectives of the open dialogue and nonviolent communication. We're gonna share with you our experience in open dialogue and what is actually for us, and maybe have some new point of view or perspective to what is all about that open dialogue thing and what we can do with that. Okay, so Lana Andrianova, hello, how are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Cool. Lana Andrianova is a medical doctor. She's mom for two. She lives in California. Originally from Russia, she's also an open dialogue facilitator. Very interested in all that connects to the self development and the personal growth, and all that can be achieved with that practices. So I can have mm, uh, some guests that maybe she does more than just open dialogue, and we will explore that in this interview. So Lana, what was the first time that you have met the open dialogue? Can you remember that moment in your life?
Yeah, I do. I was referred to the open dialogue by one of my mentors and friends now. She's been doing open dialogue sessions for herself, and her partner was also an open dialogue facilitator. So she knew all about it by that time. And she actually advised me to go there for some stuff I was working on at that time. We were working together on fears and overcoming some anxieties, some fears, some emotional stuff. I had at that time I had like my request kind of was to work with my anxiety and my fear of sharing negative feedback, of going into conflict, of doing something that would be not very positively accepted in a way. So, and it's my this is my personal issue. I'm working with a lot these days, working with the conflict avoidance and getting resource out of conflict rather than being afraid of conflict and trying to, you know, to mitigate it before it happens. So for me, it was very enlightening kind of to get into the open dialogue session and to have this safe space to tell people what I feel, to go into kind of a conflict, but in this very regulated space of the open dialogue that gives you, it's kind of like a gym for me. So it was like a, like it's like going um, for a training session, for a workout session, like when you try to learn this new skill. Because I was really afraid of expressing my negative emotions, and I would not express it to my close, family and friends and my parents. It would, I mean, I would be scared. I would not express my negative emotions in social setting, and that all leads to emotions being bottled up, packed, and then it all leads to all negative consequences of that. So open dialogue um, was, for me, it started like that, and then it grew into something way bigger than just that.
It's very interesting because the conflicts in our lives sort of tense, very tense issue. And for me personally, conflict for a long period of time was something that I would like uh, to avoid, than to experience, in any way. So anxiety and all that fear of conflict is kind of, very, it's tense, so it's very something profound that maybe open. I don't know, maybe for you, I would like to know what was that experience when you actually dig in that issue of resolving conflicts and etc etc. But now it resonates to me like it's deep uh, digging
Yeah.
some kind of issue to go with.
Yeah, I can relate. And tense is very, I think it's a very good word to say about it, because yes, I get tense and I try to get away from it. And I try to, and then, I mean, on another level, I understand that the cost of getting away from conflict is sometimes higher than it would be if I would go into that, right? Or if I would voice my opinion, if I would tell that I'm not comfortable, but um, trying to please and trying to get out of the conflict before it happens, trying to prevent it lots of times, um, cost me a lot, um, emotionally and physically, and all these unexpressed emotions. They they are still there. They're not going anywhere. It just, and that's one of my life strategies overall. So for me, peacekeeping is is a big motivation. That's for me. It's something that motivates me. That's my reward, to
Mm-hmm.
be in peace, and it's a good thing to be in, right? And I'm very comfortable in it, and I'm very uncomfortable in the conflict still. But in the open dialogue, when I first went into group, and it took me it took me several actually meetings to start expressing myself. But in first couple of them, I was like, I was like watching on my toes, like um, somebody is saying something that's going to lead to the conflict, or somebody is saying something that I would never express. Like I like, wow. And then you can watch this unfold, and you can see that, okay, so like, I mean, nothing happened. I mean, it like, so like what I had in my head, the scenario that like my brain tells me what's going to happen, it's not happening. And then you can, take a step back and actually think about like, oh, so is that just my pattern? Am I is my brain actually deceiving me into believing that like bad things are going to happen if you express yourself? Like I'm not a 3-year-old anymore, like or like nobody will gonna punish me, or nobody gonna like, you know tell me like no cake today, or something, like for being bad, or for being like angry, for being, yourself. So it's it was liberating in the way, and it took several sessions when I just watched people do it. And sometimes there were many people who tried to do that, sometimes not so many. Sometimes it would be like just 1 or 2 instances. Some sessions were like thick in what I would perceive as a conflict. And I would just be there and watch, and like feel my fear wash over me, and feel all the emotions, and then feel this like surprise, um, being pleasantly surprised by how it unfolds, and how other people react, and how they acknowledge, and how they feel this as well. And it's, I think, in the open dialogue space, it's very what's important for me is that I can see that other people feel the same way. And I can experience that what I'm experiencing is not unique to me, and it doesn't make me not normal or, like, not acceptable. That I feel these feelings, that everybody feels these feelings. We just don't talk about this socially too much. And some very, it's not about just fear of conflict or some social anxiety or that stuff. I mean, all feelings, they are kind of universal. We all experience them a little bit differently, maybe, and um, we act a little bit differently on them, depending on like underlying motivations for our behavior. So for me, it's a conflict avoidance. That's what I get in reward. For somebody else, it's something else, and it's I'm Enneagram 9, and I hit like all the boxes in Enneagram 9 for peacekeeping stuff, and it's so funny when um, I've been reading the Enneagram and was watching some interviews with other nines there, and they had this amazing podcast on Enneagram, and somebody was saying that the conflict is actually the only way to hear both sides properly, honestly. And that's what happens in open dialogue. It's just, it happens in any conflict. But sometimes I'm not prepared to face the conflict. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. In open dialogue space, I'm prepared. I know it's safe enough for me to try to do that. And I also feel like it's when I'm in the space of the open dialogue, when I'm in a group space, it makes me braver. I don't know if you've ever felt this. It I feel braver. I feel like I can do things that I cannot do on my own. And it's such a fun and empowering feeling there. I love it. And I feel it. I'm with many groups now. I sometimes feel that point like, oh, what if I try this that I've never tried before? Can I pull it off now? And oftentimes I can. And it's awkward. It's like it's not very, it sometimes it feels like a little bit tense or natural, or like, like something you're doing for the first time, but it's happening. I'm trying it, and it's me. It's my authentic self in this group trying this. And so this is kind of like a gym workout, like learning how to swim or doing something, like some new stuff. Yeah.
Actually, when I try or maybe when I explain or share, describe what is open dialogue, there's different things that I can tell about the open dialogue. And whenever I talk to other people, other facilitators who is um, deep into that practice, so they can reflect about different things. For me, I guess it starts with communication, and we're talking now about the conflicts in communication. And what I hear now, that you came from that point of own own interest to resolve something in that practice. So for me, it most of all it's about communication, non-violent, safe communication, and I call it also lab because we can in safe environment try different experience, and we can reflect our reactions and the reactions of the others to our to have that feedback, to eat something back, like when we have that opportunity that somebody reflects to what we share in a moment. But sometimes it's about also the open dialogue is also about transformational practice, and sometimes it's about collaboration. How you work with another people, another in your community, in the family. So it can be very broad and very different perspectives for the open dialogue. And I'm so glad that we are talking now about the communication, because this is so much resonates with me too, as the non-violent communicator for some period of time. When I talk about the non-violent communication, I talk especially about the Marshall Rosenberg practice of non-violent communication. Yet the open dialogue takes it to another level. And that was very interesting to me to know maybe from your side how you see that open dialogue from your perspective. What caught your attention, especially when you had your first sessions, or what reflect you in some special way that you knew that okay, this is the practice that I need to my needs, problems, or whatever.
I love the metaphor of a lab. I just love it. Thank you for that. It's I'm going to use it. Um, I'm a scientist by training, and lab is very relevant place for me. And yes, we are doing experiments, and it's experiment space, and it's like a safe setup for experiment where you can get bold and get creative and try new things that you've never tried before, which is good. So for me, what my main difficulty, and this is my professional kind of distortion, like a doctor, and like being in an expert role as well. So people come to me for advice often, and they ask me for advice, and I'm very keen to give advice. I'm keen to fix. I'm keen to find solution, and I usually see, like, when if you give me a problem, I can give you like 3 to 5 solutions if I don't know what is going on there. If I know the background and, like, ins and outs of the problem, I will give you 10 solutions. I can them, and I can offer them. I mean, it's very rewarding for me to offer solutions to somebody, to fix something and to make something better. And it's like it's self-rewarding cycle too. So for me, the practice is a communication practice. It was interesting to discover that that was my type of aggression and violence in communication, like offering this unsolicited advice oftentimes. So, and jumping to giving advice too quick without actually, checking, like, is this person in front of me, is this person was asking, was he asking for advice? Or it's just me trying to fix somebody and trying to make somebody feel better or do better or whatever better there is. So I'd say maybe 5 or 6 first groups that I have been to. I was very, like when you go to like beginner group, facilitator is telling you about the rules and principles and like housekeeping and all that. So I was paying attention to the rules, and I was trying to abide by the rules, which is like another conflict avoidance strategy. Like I'm a rule abiding person. So this rule of not giving advice and not giving, not trying to fix, to teach, to judge, to I don't know. So I was sitting there and I was just writing down in my notebook, I want to give advice. And then again, like 3 minutes after, I want to give advice. Then like another 2 minutes passed, like, oh my gosh, I really want to give advice. I'm like itching to give advice right now. And I would like look at my notes. I was like, what the heck? Like, what's going on? Like, what am I doing here? Like, other than stopping myself from giving advice and from fixing people, because like I know there's this book I read. Oh, this is the I don't know that method. Oh, I want to share something like really relevant to you, you know. And I'm passionate about it. So like I would be like, sure, I would be great at it. So my attempt to learn not to give advice, it took me several groups of very mindful practice of trying just okay, it's going to be noticing practice. I'm going to just sit there and notice when I want to give advice, and I will practice not giving advice. Instead, I will practice my own listening to my own feelings. What am I feeling at the moment? Why do I want to fix this person? Why do I want to get this person better? What's in it for me? And it's I wouldn't say like I'm cured of it, but it got better. And it got better in life as well. I think I became better listener through that, because I'm no longer jumping to fix somebody else and to find solution for their problems. I'm just listening and I'm accepting. And overall, my communication with others became less transactional and more deep. More, I feel more connected to others, and I feel like others feel more connected to me as well, because I'm more accepting in my communication. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I feel all their feelings. It's just like I know what they feel, but it doesn't, sometimes people feel like it's if somebody close to them, next to them in the group, if someone is expressing some hurt, some, negative feelings, giving some kind of something is going on with that is not like positive, right, in front of you. And so will it affect my mood? Will it affect my, I don't want to feel these feelings, right? Like sometimes people would say like, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to pick this up from you. And this is just one of those strategies that we use. You cannot feel other people's feelings. You can acknowledge them. You can say that, okay, I see what you're feeling, right? But you're not obliged to feel these feelings for them. It's just another way of fixing. Like, oh, I will be sad with you together, or I will be like as frustrated as you are. I'm gonna like connect to you and like feel it with you. It's not a compassion. Compassion is not feeling instead of other. It's just acknowledging what other person is feeling and being appropriate in that. And that was new for me too in communication space. And I used it with my husband, with my kids, and I think I'm a little bit better with my kids in communication. They're like, my oldest is 7, and she has a lot of like emotional turmoils, and I'm preparing myself for her teenage years, how it's gonna like unroll. And I'm glad I'm prepared right now, more prepared than I used to be, to just be there when she's feeling that. I don't have to feel this for her, but I'm here to help. I'm here to create this space where other person can, show up as they are. And this is very valuable. I think we are missing this a lot in our everyday lives, when you can just be who you are and bring your whole self, not being nice all the time, not being positive all the time, when like, inside you're crying, right? And especially since we're speaking English and doing this for English speaking audience, I think that this is one of the cultural differences for US, at least what I've noticed. When we arrived here, I had a toddler. We would go to the playground, and then I would hear American moms on a playground with other toddlers telling to their 2-year-olds, be nice. You have to be nice. No one will play with you if you're not nice. And I was like, we don't put this kind of restrict on our kids in Russia. Like, I was never told to be nice when I was growing up. I I learned how to be nicer, like so people would like me and all that, but it was not like an agenda when I was a toddler, right? And I think in US, it's introduced a bit early, to say the least. And when people don't know who they are and what they feel, but they grow up with this imperative, like you have to be nice. And it's a tough ask of a toddler. If you ever seen a toddler, like asking a toddler to be nice, come on, like really. And it's also like, if you fail to be nice, what's going to happen? And you will fail if you're a toddler eventually. So it's for me, as a person living in US, I see this as a strain and as a burden, kind of emotional burden for many people, that imperative that they have to be nice no matter what, no matter what's going on inside of them. They have to project niceness and being, good overall, like looking good instead of feeling good. So for me, it's important to feel good inside, and how I feel inside right now, and how if the person next to me can have a safe space to express emotions and I can acknowledge them, we can connect and we can be better together. We can do things together, bringing our whole selves to that. And it's okay not to be nice. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have hard feelings. But then at the same time, we can share the joy and all the positive emotions that we have fully from this whole self that we bring into the communication. You cannot bring your whole self without bringing your, shadow side, right? So that's.
First you were when you spoke about the advices, and I felt like chills in my body. Like, we don't advise on open dialogue. We're about safe communication. It's a safe environment. We don't violate anybody. We don't save anybody. And I was screaming inside, and all that experience when you shared about the, I would like to advise somebody. Oh, I would like to advise once again. I need to advise right now. So I felt like that tense feeling, like, oh, what that kind of experience it had to be, that to a person like you, or for anybody that had that pattern, recognizing that pattern in the moment and trying to not to do, because whatever, any reason. For new participant it can be like, oh, what are the rules are about, why we like do that rules or that principles. There are so many different principles. And also very reflected to me the part of being nice and all that honesty, because for me open dialogue is about ability or skill of oneself to connect with oneself. Like, how is to be connected with my own feelings. And when you gave that episode with a child, 2 years old child, that is told in a moment, you have to be nice, otherwise whatever, any punishment, and that like impact, or something that is like imprinted inside the human being, like, this is socially allowed, this is not, this is good, this is bad, all that kind of things. And how do you, how, what can be, what opportunity we have in that environment, social environment, to be connected with oneself, before we express something or before we listen or empathically, because all that social norms, this is normal, this is not normal. And it's very interesting because in that you know uh, going from one country to another country, intercultural differences, because for example, as I know, the Russian culture has been grown up in Azerbaijan, but we are Russian speaking as well. It wasn't about being nice, rather than being polite, maybe. Okay, being polite. That was our conditioning about, okay, you have to be polite and whatever. So in US it's about socially adequate and being nice to each other. So like, okay, that's good, interesting thing. Yet, there's scale of emotions, and they say that you can't really connect to your own self, or even to the good positive emotions, if you don't accept that negative things. And if we talk about communication and you came to open dialogue with that conflict thing, how do you deal with conflict? How would you avoid? Would you go into it? Would you dig into it? There's different strategies, as you said. There's also more about the open dialogue than a safe place, or the lab, as we mentioned it, is also about the principles. So one of the principles is non-violent, not to express violence toward others, not saving, not advising, but also about the honesty, like how you can be honest in the moment. And there's another principles. I would like to hear from you what the most interesting or maybe exciting principle in open dialogue that you pay attention to in your theoretical part when you facilitating the groups, and maybe in your life. What the most principle that resonates with you?
I tend to rotate the principles when I'm talking about the dialogue. Why I'm doing this, because some of them are very relevant for me at the moment. I try to explain this from my perspective, and it's always changing in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So for a while, when I was still learning that, it was not giving advice and refraining from verbal violence in form of advising and fixing, and instead learning to turn it um, to myself and turn attention to my reasons for doing that. There's always reason behind this urge to fix something. Um, then it kind of like it went well. So I think I learned a thing or two about giving advice, and developed a new pattern. Then I noticed that, okay, let's talk about feelings, and let's feel the feelings, and let's express what we feel in the moment. And as I listened to other people, as I was listening, I noticed that some people would be really, like, they would have robust vocabulary. They would have very good touch with themselves, be like they would stay in touch with their feelings, and they would like express them freely and openly, and I would understand what they're trying to say. And then others, they can't do that easily. And I was on the other side. So for me, when, like, once I stopped trying to give advice, right, and went through that stage, I tried to connect with my feelings, and I would not connect. And it was, I think the part of this is the conflict avoidance and like self-forgetting pattern that I have. The other thing is that I've had chronic pain for many years, from my back problems. I've been in chronic pain since maybe 14, 15. It's like well over 20 years now. And I don't feel my body that well because I try not to feel pain in every moment. I try to find something that just just if it's not hurting, that's okay, you know. That's like that was my idea of well-being for a while when I was in chronic pain. If it doesn't hurt, I'm well, and it's not quite well, right? It's like it's not enough to be quite well, just not to be hurt. But it was the minimum because I was hurting every day. Something hurts. I was in pain, and when you're trying not to feel pain, what it does to you, you don't feel other sensations because pain is so loud. If you can muffle this sound, if you can protect your brain from this signal, you will automatically protect from other signals. I will not feel hungry. I will not feel thirsty. I will not feel when I'm tired. I may not feel when I feel uncomfortable in a situation, when I get nervous. You know, that nervous build up in the body, like the heart rate, the breathing, you know, some sensation in your stomach. Maybe I will not feel that because okay, it doesn't hurt. I'm fine. You know, that was my answer to everything. And I would often express my thoughts instead of my feelings.
Mm.
And I when I when I'm in the group, when I'm listening, sometimes I would get kind of like visual uh, visual things. I would see things visually, or I would think about something, and it would be something I wanted to share because I wanted to be, you know, heard, and I wanted to be like, noticed. And I would think that it's like it's coming from inside of me, so that's probably my feelings. In reality, it's my thoughts, and they may or may not have something to do with my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And this part of feeling the feelings and connecting my thoughts to my feelings, like trying to not to jump to my thought. I'm in my head most of the time. I'm not in my body much.
Mm-hmm.
So trying not to use my thoughts as a feeling, and because it's a distraction that my brain gives me, and it's the thought that may be very valuable to me, or maybe very something new that I've thought about. Oh, that's what the whale of the thought it is. I'm gonna like think this thought is so amazing. I'm gonna jot it down. You know, I'm gonna journal about that. That's such an amazing thought. That's so useful in the moment. I'm gonna share it with everybody as well. So it's not my feeling, right? Um, and I would say I'm still in the process of connecting thoughts with feelings and connecting to my feelings as well. Being in the moment and expressing myself from the moment, and this being expression of my emotion, not some visual cues or some stuff that comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes it comes to my mind, but it's not my feeling. It's mine, it's not the feeling. So it's that's an interesting principle for me, and I feel like I'm still working with that. I feel like it's helpful for many people when I say, like, we learn to connect our our thoughts with our feelings and express our feelings rather than thoughts. It was very beneficial for me when I first heard it on in a group, and it was a moment when I was like, oh, you know, that's two different things. I've never thought about that. And I'm still in the process, and I like to say that I'm in training with that. I don't say like I try to, like I'm practicing that. I'm focusing on that, and I'm working on this thing practicing to connect with my feelings, and it's tough for me. I mean, I will be honest, it's really a tough practice for me. It's easier to connect with others than with myself. I'm very compassionate. It's not a big deal for me to connect to other person's feelings, but it's a big deal to hear my own. And that's the beauty of open dialogue as a practice, because it's your own practice. You're practicing for your own sake, right? And it's a personal thing. You can take something and use it, and you can have 5 people in the group, and everyone will work on their own thing. Would it be conflict avoidance? Would it be connection to others? Which some people are struggling with that. They're very well connected to themselves, but they are struggling to connect with others. And then there are other people like me. I'm fine connecting with with others, but I'm not that fine, not like even 3 levels down, to connect with my own self and to hear myself, what I'm feeling right now. Because I used to self-forget, and I used to sign it off as irrelevant and as not important for many years. And the bodily sensations, because of the chronic pain issues that I had, it's a learning curve for me, and it hurts. Honestly, if I tune in to my body enough, I start feeling pain first, right? And it's uncomfortable. I don't want to be there in this place, but it's necessary to go down to other feelings, to start feeling earth under me, to start feeling my balance, to start feeling how my body is feeling right now. Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I tired? Or like what's going on? Like, am I excited or scared, or what's there? So that's deep personal practice, and it's as deep as you can go, right? It's as deep as you wish to go, and that's another beautiful aspect of this. And what I love about that is you can go to the level of your own readiness in there, right? So if you are scared, if you feel you're not ready to go, you're okay to stay where you are. You can spend like 5-10 meetings where you are, just be there, and then suddenly you notice the progress. Suddenly you step up to a different level. Sometimes you go back. So it happens. So it's interesting how it is, and it's very adjustable. So whatever goal you have, you can accomplish that through the practice. Just being rewiring, and this being practicing doing new things. So like better, then this is a place where you can practice doing better. And for me, that's the most valuable part. And also the goal, we're talking about setting clear goal and setting goal of health and well-being. I could not connect to that properly for a while as well. Like I was like, okay, health and okay, sounds good. All right, okay. Okay, I agree.
So, yeah, why not?
I'm gonna avoid the conflict, so I will agree with your goals, guys. Okay. All right, I'm here. And then now I realize that if I have a clear goal of what I'm practicing right now, I can actually practice, and my attention widens to cover this thing. If I don't have a clear goal, I'm just floating there. I'm not practicing. I mean, it's so nice to meet other people, to maybe listen to them. I like people, so it's fine for me. But it's not that beneficial unless I have a clear goal set. So what is that I practice today in this particular group? What do I want from this group? And then answer comes to you oftentimes during the group. You often start seeing new things, and it has to do with with attention, and focusing on the problem, on the challenge, or whatever you try to call this thing, right? You're practicing. So what is it to practice, and what do you want to, where you want to get? And then open dialogue can lift you up and try and help you get there if you know where you're going, right? So that's a good aspect of the practice. I try to remind about goal setting every time as well, because I think it's vital to the proper practice of it. If you're floating out there without any goals or objectives, or like, I don't know, what I'm doing here, or you just connect to every person there. Oh, that's a cool goal. Oh, that's a cool goal. Like, okay, like, what's yours? Why are you here? Um, and I like to ask people about their goals before we start voicing our personal goals for the group. I like to have this practice of silence, meditation, and just reflect on, just close your eyes and just connect to yourself, because it works for me. Some people are naturally connected to themselves, but it works for me. I need this time to connect to this group and to myself within it, and to remind myself what I'm doing here today. And that's how it works better, how I'm getting the most results out of it. I don't want to do 25 groups without any results, right? It's kind of like futility. I don't want this to be I want this to be useful. I mean, I want this time to be spent well and be valuable for me and for others as well. So the best use of the time happens when you have a goal, is at least for me. So yeah, that's it.
I guess you covered a lot of principles in open dialogue, and all shared all the secrets about that about the practice. What most resonated to me is about that magical thing that happens in open dialogue, that each participant comes with its own practice. It's actually personal practice, and each of participant can come with different goals, but somehow the whole system reflects and answers to all the as a fulfillment to the needs, to each of the participant whenever he goes with that rules, and all that experience of being so tough to connect with my own feelings. It's also about connecting with myself, but also about the honesty in the here and now. What I really feel right now, not describing myself, don't go with my images, no thoughts. It's my personal path as well. Because when I remember myself few years ago, before nonviolent communication, it was also only about my head. Like everything is going connected, only how my head thinks about what must be or what must not be, and whatever. And whenever it comes to that point of, in the moment, what do I feel? How do I feel? What do I need? It, first times, even right now, I can reflect about some moment in my first groups that it also was about the connection with oneself. It's a great example, but also about not being judgeable toward others. It was like blowing my mind when I asked my facilitator to reflect on my experience or my working in the group. Like that was kind of a reflection that he invited the participant in that specific group to ask him for. So I asked him, and in the moment I felt so much afraid, because I knew that he will judge me. He will. It's not about appreciation as a valuing my with some criterias for how how good was I, like Was I good? Was I bad? Did I express myself as much as I? And I was so much like it's a tiny, tiny fear. And when I asked all of my fears for that, because I was new and I wanted to know how do I practice? I don't know what this
What
practice
am
is
I,
all
what am
about.
I doing here? Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so what he did actually blew my mind. He didn't do any of the things that I thought he would do. He didn't give me any ABCs about how I was. It was only about his own experience in the moment of how he felt being with me in that group.
Mhm.
And I felt so at home in that moment. That feeling of being at home where you're not judged, when nobody gives you signs about what's good and what's not good. And it was like, and it's all one more moment about that connecting with myself. Some saying that I had heard that the words are the bad translation from the original. All that happens has all that happens in the language that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
For me, the open dialogue is about that language that we can't put in the words. We can only experience in here and now, and when it's connected in the field, it feels like we're all speaking the same language, although we put different intentions or understandings in the same words, but there's something going beneath all what's going on the surface, that whenever that moment, the magical moments happen, that I happen to connect to that inner uh, something that goes on, in the field and whatever. So I would like maybe to ask you one last question, if I may. If Can you remember in your experience, or maybe in experience of the participants of the groups that you are facilitating right now, some most remarkable, or maybe transformational moments that like sticked in your memory and was like, oh, aha moment, or something like that you can share with us?
Oh, I feel so many. I feel like every group gives you this aha about yourself or others. And it was, I think they were one of first groups where I've been just sitting, watching what's going on. And there was experienced facilitator working there. And I I saw a transformation. I saw how all group transpired and how it became clear and how it showed the pattern for one of participants. And it was I think it was my first feeling of this like field of the center of the group that's been working and that's been like working together. And you can see that, um, I can see that I'm not experiencing transformation like right now, but somebody else does. And was like, wow, oh my gosh, like this, and it felt this like wow moment, like aha, when a person suddenly discovers some patterns that's been like, lifelong, and he's been caught up in this cycle for years and years, and suddenly like, oh my God, is it there? And like, yes, we see it, it was there, but this person never noticed. And um, it would be, I mean, it would be easy to give an advice or give it like a thing like, oh, you have this pattern. I think you have this pattern, but it's so much valuable when you discover it yourself, isn't it? And it's so much. lived through, and it's so much, it gives you another level of understanding, and you will not accept it as a criticism or as an idea to fix yourself, right? If I will tell you about patterns I see in you, like what's the use? You will feel judged, you will feel not okay, you will feel like you need fixing, right? And it's not up to me to decide if you need fixing or not, to be honest. So and it's the readiness level as well. So it comes when person is ready. So for me, it's these transformational experiences. They transpire from the field, from the group, from all of this what's being said and expressed, and then it's a situation when person is ready for that. And when it all comes together in one moment and you're able to witness it, it's really, it's magical and it's transformational for me as a facilitator. It was a moment when I thought that, oh, it would be great to try to facilitate, to try to do this more. And I was very fortunate to jump into facilitation training and to do that, like shortly after, before I forgot and moved on to the next thing. Um, it's wonderful, and it's really inspiring, not in the sense of fixing people, but in the sense of guiding them where they're ready to go and where they want to go for themselves, whatever it is for the person in the moment, right? Yeah.
That's truly, truly amazing moment, and I'm so thankful that you shared with us that experience, because that blind zone that we know that we have it, if we are in a spiritual practices, awareness, or self-help, or all that kind of thing, we know that that blind zone somewhere exists, and sometimes people come and they say you should change, and that is that, blah 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 blah. But when I awaken, when I see the destructive thing, when I knew that in the result, like moment of the results, that I have bad results, I'm not satisfied with my life, and I don't have enough money, I don't have that successful family, whatever. And I know that it starts with me, inside of me, but I don't know what and why. But that sudden moment that I recognize that pattern, and the safe environment, I recognize that. Maybe field, showed me, and maybe people like try to advise me. But when I see that something that is, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about something that's not good to me. It's not healthy to me. So when I recognize that, I can change it. Okay, in that same moment, when I see it, I can. Oh yes, I see it right now, and
Yeah,
that's okay. And something goes up in the moment. In the moment, that transformational moments are
yeah,
just happen in the moment, and it's so inspiring to see other people
absolutely.
as
Yeah.
well as
And it's a
myself experience.
growth moment too. So like the patterns, the things that you used to do and that you were jump into automatically, that what your brain offers you like by default, right? It used to work for you. That's why it's here. So all the patterns you have, they work. And that's important to understand, that that's a working thing, that's a moving thing that you have, and it yielded you some results in the past. And what's been very appropriate for you when you were 7 or 12 may not be appropriate when you're 45, right? What's been appropriate for you as a teenager is not appropriate for you when you're a mother. And these are patterns that we, to grow, you need to change patterns. You need to grow into new ones, right? You need to recognize what's useful, what's no longer useful, what I can do better. But then it takes time to change them. It takes time to it's a Gnostic practice as well. What I like open dialogue for is that it empowers you. It gives you the ownership of your um, self, of your whole self, of your feelings, your ideas, of your patterns as well. And it empowers you to own them and to change them. Because when you sit in this group for 2 hours thinking, what in that for me? Why am I reacting this way? What is my response? Why I'm responding this way? Is that my usual response? Do I usually do that? Do I do this in my everyday life? Can I relate to this or that because of my patterns? That transforms you in a way of transferring ownership from outside life happening to you happening in your own life. And that was one of the ideas when I went to the open dialogue further and further into facilitation, when I realized that I can. So the main thing that we do is to facilitate ourselves. And as a facilitator, it's my practice as well. I'm part of the group. I'm not uh, I'm not a housekeeper. I'm not trying to make everybody abide by the rules or tell them what to do or judge them or help them be better. I can only express myself and practice myself in the group. And this is my moment when I can facilitate myself and see how I'm being affected by all this. And that's exactly what each and every other person is doing, in the group. And I'm trying to get people to feel the value of this and to feel empowered to change this from outside world affecting them paradigm and like feeling of being thrown back and forth by the world, by what other people think or judge or do whatever, to how am I, what's going on around me, what do I want, what are my goals. And I mean, it moves you so much further. It moves you to such a better place. And sometimes it's painful because you realize that place where you are right now, it's not that that good. And being nice to people all the time is not what you need, or that patterns you've been using from your teenage years are no longer working for you as you want. And if you want new results, you have to do something else. And that's amazing how but it's an empowering practice. And it can be, just want to finish that on this note, that it can be as much as you want it to make, and it can be as deep as you want to go, and it can be as useful as you want to make it useful. It can be very, very practical. I'm a very practical person. I tend to have a goal and to go to that goal and to track my progress and to do all this kind of stuff. For some people, it doesn't work this way. They are more metaphysical and new age, they try to feel more on, it's personal practice as well. And it's what it does, it empowers you to do whatever you need to do, and to bring your whole self into the world. And this is what makes the world better, when you bring your whole potential, your full potential to the world by showing up as a whole, as a beautiful human being that was created and placed here to live your own life. And that's the best thing you can do, is live your own life and be what you're meant to be. So that's, I'm gonna end on that note. And thank you so much for having me.
Lana, it was such a great pleasure for me as well to have you on this interview, because there was some inspirational moments for me also to discover from your experience, and all the conflicts things and the communication nonviolent communication that we succeeded to cover and transformational moments. I would like to invite any of you who hears us on YouTube or maybe on Facebook to taste that kind of groups that we are talking about, the open dialogue. It's a scientific approach. If I didn't mention, I don't remember if I mentioned that, because we dig into that or what that open dialogue is all about and etc. etc. So all the details you will find in the description below this video. You're welcome to the Communication Lab, and thank you so much for being with us that special time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.